the age of the global traveler gets younger and younger, megacities known more for business than leisure are opening up its doors to a new and adventurous generation. With the prices for airfare landing at historically competitive rates, these economic centers are now playing host to globetrotters in their 20s, flying in by the thousands, adding a new color to the otherwise coat and tie palette. Dynamic, adventurous, and highly wired to their social community, the needs of this new breed are often geared toward the raw, the real, and the easily uploadable. So how are metropolitan destinations like Shanghai getting along with this influx of the fresh? On this episode of Travel Guide, join me, Pauline, as we take you on a guided tour in and around Shanghai and ride shotgun to incredible destinations awaiting you just beyond the city limits. Shanghai, the city above the sea. It's the largest city in the Republic of China, with over 6,000 square kilometers of metropolitan real estate. Visited by millions of people each year, it is certainly no wonder that to date it ranks as one of the most popular destinations in China, second only to Beijing. It's a fast city, hopped up and open 24 hours without need for breaks. How can it when it's a pillar of financial strength across the world? True to form, since Shanghai's Pudong International Airport, we had been rushing from one enclosed passenger vehicle to the next. Unable to shake off that cabin feeling, the new scenes were at least providing some comfort.
I'm Kevin, and if you have any problems...
Tour buses, the bane of the young and independent traveler. For young trippers searching for exciting new experiences to click and share, the bus might not always be the chosen mode of transport, but touring has one leg up. Meet Kevin, our tour guide. Tour guides can make or break a trip, and researching on good tour providers is a must, even if you're just considering a day tour. They are the ones who can help you navigate through the city and its local customs. And in a country of tradition and protocol, manners can play a role in spelling the difference between one's rudeness or naivety. Luckily, my man Kevin here is a pro. Shanghai is home to 23 million residents. That's not including millions of visitors who regularly do business in the city. As a major financial center, it's also become a favorite venue for international events like the China International Tourism Mart or the CITM. Following the lead of our trusty tour guide, I lunged head-on into the Multi-Pavilion Expo of Asia's largest tourism and travel trade show. The CITM brings together the international travel industry under one venue, with China as its main highlight. Held alternately between Shanghai and Kunming, here at Shanghai's new International Expo Center, it's drawing in people with magnetic strength. With 17 exhibition halls totaling 200,000 square meters of column-free ground-level space, with an additional outdoor exhibit space of more than 100,000 square meters. Inside, you could feel the immensity of the venue through booths buzzing with excitement.
Admittedly, travel expos might not be the funnest thing to do, but you might grab yourself a couple of free things on the way. Hi, can I get a bag? May I have one?
A few freebies here, some photo ops there, and you can turn all that marketing gimmickry into something of an adventure.
Go straight to Europe. Minnie and Winnie.
For me, though, I was hoping for it to be an opportunity to get acquainted with the rest of my trip. But this was not without its fair share of challenges.
Do you have a brochure in English? No, none. That's all right. Thanks, though.
It was time to bring in my big guns.
Well, I'm feeling a little bit lost here. I'm hoping my new Chinese app will help me out. Thank I just asked him where I can find one of the booths for the city that I'm looking for. It says it's through here. Yay, it's in English. I love it. Okay. You asked for it, you carry it. Thank you.
The great thing about Shanghai is really its strategic location. Within a few hours, historically important places like Zhejiang province can be within reach. With the weather still damp in Shanghai, we took the 3-hour drive south from the city, heading to Hangzhou, the capital of the province. Earlier in the trip, I had a chance to learn about Hangzhou during the CITM, but nothing beats the real thing. Hangzhou is the largest city in the province of Zhejiang. Here I was to discover what an imperial hideaway was built to be. One of 7 ancient capitals of China, alongside places like Nanjing and Beijing, Hangzhou has about 1,000 years of recorded history, mostly in reference to its laid-back, leisurely atmosphere. Going around the West Lake, the main attraction in the city, I took in the meditative experience all too well. Had I been listening to my tour guide, I would have discovered that the West Lake was only recently established as a UNESCO World Cultural Heritage Site, an honor bestowed on account of its influence on Oriental art, poetry, and landscaping. Once the rest house of the royals and Chinese aristocrats, heavy attention was placed on establishing a calm and placid environment. This was my kind of place.
Nice people.
Quiet, relaxing, and although still part of a tour group, I was able to slip away from time to time to enjoy the view solo. What many don't realize is that the West Lake, against its seemingly effortless ambiance, is in fact partly man-made. Sure, it's not like there wasn't much to work with, but on a quaint little bench overlooking the West Lake, I finally took some time with my tour guide Kevin to find out what Hangzhou meant to China.
Where is this place?
Here, Hangzhou, that's in the eastern side of China, not far away from the biggest city in China, Shanghai. Hangzhou was very rich in the ancient China. It's like the warehouse of the whole country for the emperors. Always the rich place, but not the cultural center or the political center.
Saved from politics and the grueling business of trade, it maintained that softness about it, often lost in megacities.
In ancient time, the city area located around the lake. The rich people in ancient time, they also left a lot of gardens. So the government has the plan that they won't change any house around the West Lake. And this is also the advantage of Hangzhou city, because most of the Chinese city right now is very modern already.
An emperor's retreat, rivaled only by a feast fit for a king. While in Hangzhou, it is a must to try their Zhejiang cuisine. One of 8 culinary traditions formally established in China, the Chinese certainly have a way of elevating their food to a whole other standard. Noted for its fresh, tender, and silky dishes, the food here highlights natural flavors embellished by a festivity of mild fragrances. From local favorites like the dongpo pork and the classic West Lake fish in vinegar, each elaborately prepared dish shares a unique history. But none as popular as the legendary beggar's chicken. From town to town across China, some place or another attempts to claim that they own the true origins of the beggar's chicken. Hangzhou is no different. But among them all, they share the story of a lowly beggar and his ingenious cooking style. Wrapped in fragrant leaves and baked in mud, it's one of those dishes whose origins come second after a bite of its succulent flavor. Among all the great food, I finally had a chance to settle in and fully enjoy the company of my fellow travelers. Still in Hangzhou, in the Song Dynasty town, is the Temple Complex, home to an elaborate staging of Hangzhou's talent and artistry. The romance of song of more than 100 actors, dancers, gymnasts, not to mention those working offstage to bring to life the legends of. For less than $50, excluding entrance to the Song Dynasty town, you are treated to an hour of color, music, and China's finest. And yes, that's real water flooding the stage. Afterwards, you can fully experience being in 11th century China with the various districts in the Song Dynasty town. Never breaking character is the mark of a truly dedicated actor.
Good luck with that, tiger.
A short distance from the Song Dynasty town is the expanse of tea plantations in Hangzhou, planting primarily Longjing tea, otherwise known as Dragon Well green tea.
It's mid-November and by now most of the tea for the season has been harvested. But maybe there's just a few more left for us to try out.
And try it we shall.
One does try.
In a small room inside the plantation's tourist farm, I had my first sampling of this famous Dragon Well tea. Lightly colored leaves that are pan-fried by hand, it's a delicate spring tea planted initially for royalty. Unlike its cousin, the black and oolong teas, it is unfermented, accounting for its light flavor and high catechins content, which presumably is a great antioxidant.
This is the high-grade tea, and you can tell the difference because it's lighter. Smells like chocolate, actually. I love it, I love it. But you can only have one flavor.
The cure to everything from cataracts to cholesterol, they are quite expensive, even by tea standards. But being in that special batch of tea supposedly sent straight to their leader, it was hard not to consider bringing home a bag. A kilo of this loose tea could go for as much as 1,500 yuan. That's about $250. Luckily, I didn't have to purchase them alone. A tip when shopping in Shanghai: find a partner and split the bill. You'll certainly get a better deal that way. Locking the way out, I believe there are some well-convinced buyers in this group, myself included. From tea plantation to tea town, as we head from Lake Town to the town of Wutsen. There is a curious occurrence that happens when you leave Shanghai. Sitting just outside the welcome courtyard of the water town in the village of Wutsen, time was playing tricks. As if time had gone completely in reverse, an ancient water town was restored to its former glory, a worthy, albeit expensive endeavor. Just a 45-minute drive north of Hangzhou, it shares in the long history of Zhejiang province. Built around the Grand Canal, the longest man-made river to date, Wutsen is one of a handful of tourist villages that lay along this Beijing to Hangzhou conduit. A premier tourist destination, it spans 72,000 square kilometers, spreading over 6 districts. It was too much ground to cover, even with 2 whole days.
This is really your vocation.
Luckily, I grabbed my own guide in the form of Peter. Peter is a local tour guide, one of an elite fleet of guides in Wutsen, with the distinction of rank shown through his cream-colored trench coat.
I was wondering, how long is this street?
It's about 1.8 kilometers.
And along the street, we could find what? What would we find? Guest houses?
Guest house, some scenic spots like go to the Bani Museum. It's a museum shows China usually has small feet. It's kind of culture binding.
Binding. Wow.
And also we have a academy. Once the prince wants to come here to study.
Wow.
And also we have some painting salon for local artists gathering over there. And also we found different kinds of shops over the street, snack, and some restaurants, hotels. Everything included in this.
I would be in it for a little bit of a snack. We could do that.
On our first stop, the soybean paste shop.
So I guess he's done for the day. He's just covering up.
Actually, there are just about 20 bean paste shops scattered throughout Wutsen. Traditionally fermented in vats, the paste here locks in that authentic deep flavor, ubiquitous to food in this province. But be warned.
Wow, it smells really pungent. It's the soy sauce paste. I see. How much for a bowl? 35 yuan for traditional, you can't get anywhere else, soybean paste, I see. Wow. Can I hold one? Question is, can you bring it on a plane? Ultimately, if you can't bring it home, you can bring this home. Wow, look at that. And it's in a jar. Is this also a traditional jar?
No, it's a traditional jar. So there's a paste inside.
This is what will happen to me at the end of this script. So this is what you call sticky rice, right? So what am I doing exactly?
It's similar like sticky rice. But
Okay.
this we call them it's called mochi. Mochi.
Mochi.
Yeah.
Mochi, sorry.
Mochi. Matsu we call it in Chinese.
Okay. And then what happens to this after I pound it to smithereens?
Yeah, it's later will become like this. Finally with the sesame. Getting taste.
Oh, awesome.
And the rice is different than normal rice. This is red rice. You can see it's red rice. Different than normal.
See that? It's actually a pinkish, almost brain-like color.
The natural color.
But I'm sure it's very delicious. Well, you know what? I'm going to give this back to the professionals. This man over here has been doing it for, I don't know, a long time, I assume.
Yeah, that's where we go.
Thank you. Kindness among strangers. Well, cheers to that. While walking along the Siza, or the western corridor of Wutsen, Peter and I had a good chat about Wutsen's recent history.
It's quiet. You know, I would even prefer to go here on a non-peak season. I mean, I'm sure you'll get better rates too, because there aren't a lot of people.
But as Peter tells me later on, an average of 2,000 guests come to visit Wutsen every day, and the number rises every year.
Talk to me a little bit about accommodations.
If people don't like the hotels, modern facilities, you can choose a guest house. But actually, with the household inside, their guest room with a modern facility.
With modern facilities.
Yeah, but the outlook, that's the guest house.
I like it.
Proudly claiming the title of the Venice of the East, with its winding canals and would-be gondoliers, I'd like to think Wutsen stands to be so much more, possessing its own personality, provided generously by the locals still residing here.
Yeah, and over there, there's a tea house, traditional tea house facing the water.
What's the traditional chrysanthemum?
Chrysanthemum tea here.
Here, it's popular.
Yeah, popular here, produced here.
Throughout the town, there are tea houses that offer free tea, like self-service water stations for the locals. Peter was keen on teaching me some local etiquette and introducing me to some welcoming local residents.
Yeah, it's kind of like a tea house here.
Hi.
Yeah, the local people who live here.
Hi. So how does one do the tea business here?
Like this, they are drinking this local tea. It's called chrysanthemum tea. The local farmers here, they planted the
Very
tea.
popular tea. What is that? What's happening? What's happening?
That means sex.
That means sex.
Tea. Do you want to have a tea?
Yes, please. I would love one.
If they're pulling you a tea, you just squeeze two fingers, look lightly.
Knock lightly.
No, not lightly.
Okay, just knock lightly.
Not look lightly.
And what does that mean?
That means sex.
That means thanks.
Yes.
My mind was blown. All this time with all that rigmarole over modern living and forward thinking, it all seems so unnecessary now. Until, that is, an all too familiar itch to post the experience came along.
Local celebrities. Is it okay if I get a picture with my newfound friends? I'll upload it on their free Wi-Fi all over Wuzhen. Okay?
With Wutzen's town-wide free internet access, you can click and upload your experience in real time. But be warned, certain networking sites aren't yet fully accessible in China. Still, there is more than one way to get around this minor setback. What is great about Wutzen is that, for all its vintage glory, it's still very much a modern tourist zone. Far more friendly than most that I've visited, its beguiling exterior, rooted in its vast history, has cleverly hidden its gifts as an elegant and modern facility. With all the narrow side streets and little details you could busy yourself here, it's the broad view atop a bridge that makes the trip.
Wow, look at that. Gorgeous.
By the evening, Peter was off the hook, and I was back in the group. Dinner was a quick one, as we amped up for the chilly ride along the canals. Boat rides are still the most efficient way to travel here. But for me, it was simply a romantic evening to cap my stay in Wuzhen. So quickly did I fall in love with the town that by the next morning, the discomfort in leaving so soon was certainly apparent.
Wuzhen is amazing. I wouldn't expect this traditional town to emerge out of such exciting cities like Shanghai. But here it is. And a day is just not enough.
But all things must come to an end. Besides, the weather in Shanghai had reportedly improved in the last few days, and a call back to the city was in order.
The building with two columns or two
Like reeling in from a bad cold but was already getting better, Shanghai was damp but ready for us to jump off the bus and hit its streets. The city of the future, reveling in its past, this much can be ascertained simply by walking the streets of Nanjing.
I'll be honest with you, I am a little bit lost here in Nanjing Road. This pedestrian-dominated area is all about shopping, and I don't know where to begin. Let's go check out some stores. Come on.
Nanjing Road stretches for 3 to 4 miles, all the way from the colonial buildings at the Bund to the Jing'an Temple. A strategic location then till now, it's a place to stay at with all the shopping and dining options found throughout it.
It's 10 a.m. in Nanjing Road, and the stores have just opened. So it's a great time to shop because there are a lot of people, and I'm hoping they're open for a little bit of early morning sale. Let's see if we can get a sample.
Do you like the flavor stronger or lighter?
Do you have like Longjing tea?
龙井
Yeah.
没有。
I understand what he's saying. Not really. No, I don't. No Longjing tea.
No, Longjing.
How much is Longjing tea?
Because it's autumn now, it's called Longjing tea. It's often drink in spring.
Oh, it's often drank in spring.
Nanjing was a large labyrinth, with side roads full of shops and malls with secret rooms and hidden storage areas, some fitted with pushy vendors unwilling to join in our
Oh,
story.
excuse me.
So regrettably, I couldn't take you along. but allow me instead to leave you with something more entertaining. Now for lunch. And who could beat Shanghai's cuisine? Shanghai's culinary diversity is impressive. The need to always have a Shanghainese twist to everything gave birth to Hu cuisine. A mix of Chinese classics and internationally inspired delights, Hu cuisine is more about the diversity of its menu, more than an actual definitive flavor. And the choices seem boundless. So if you're hungry for them all, an international buffet is the closest you may get to having the world on a plate. From Nanjing, you can access the Bund, an embankment along the Hangpu River. It is a series of restored buildings whose architecture and layout speak of its colonial influence in the early 20th century. The new buildings around it are forever restrained to a height limit so as not to ever outshine the Bund's historic relevance. But what they could not build above, they decided to create below. The sightseeing tunnel of the Bund is an audio-visual ride running beneath the Huangpu River. Although there are cheaper ways to cross the river, it is by far the most iconic. On the other end, you exit the new financial district of Shanghai. It is here where landmarks like the Oriental Pearl Tower stand in stark contrast to the Bund. A television tower, its location and design houses the sensibilities of China toward the future. With its revolving restaurant, a view deck, and repository, the Oriental Pearl Tower is a one-stop shop tourist attraction and the benchmark of whether you have or haven't truly been to Shanghai. But for me, the experience of Shanghai lay more in its ability to draw you into its doorstep and lead you into a deeper experience of China.
Wow, okay. Welcome to the train station of the future.
The future of Shanghai's diverse tourism arrivals remain up in the air. What we can work out is this: even the old ways can catch the younger demographic when repackaged with their interests in mind. And if this trip has taught me anything, it's that the raw and the real aren't beyond reach just because you're with a tour group. Sure, sometimes you have to wait a bit more for the rest of your group, and fine, sometimes you'd like to have some time alone to explore without being on the clock.
Admittedly, there are points in a tour where you just kind of want to be alone, so you just let the group slide on ahead of you while you soak in a little bit of that cold and a little bit of that alone time.
But here in Shanghai, tours and tour guides have and will continue to provide you with a great conversation and a perspective you'd not gain otherwise.